So here we are at the final dungeon of the game, Skykeep. Skykeep is one of the most unique dungeons, not only in Skyward Sword, but in the entire Zelda series, and in fact, perhaps even in all of video games, just the way the way you go from room to room. Right away you'll get the dungeon map, and you'll find that there are 8 total rooms in the dungeon, and you can actually see which rooms have the 3 pieces of the Triforce. Our goal in this dungeon is to collect the 3 pieces of the Triforce. So basically we're going to be going through the various rooms, and over here is sort of like a slide puzzle and sort of like a little game. This is like normal. I used to have these as a child. In fact, they're not new to the Zelda series. There was a whole mini game in the Wind Waker that had a slide puzzle like this. In this case, it's a little different in that the things that we slide, the tiles, they correspond to the actual rooms in the dungeon. So you can actually move the rooms around, and then you sort of create a pathway that you can sort of walk from room to room to. And that's how that's how you make your way through the dungeon. It's a very unique, very different. So I moved only 2 of the blocks initially, and you have to go to this room. This will certainly be the second room in the dungeon for sure. And I like to call this, I guess, the Skyview Temple room, in that it has the Skyview Temple music. And it's not exactly like Skyview Temple-esque. It's more, I suppose, like ancient cistern-like. I mean, we use it's got the Skyview Temple music, and it's sort of foresty, so but it looks like this would be a room in the ancient cistern. Anyway, what's cool about the Skyview Temple room, and in general throughout the entire Skykeep, you pretty much use all of your weapons that you've gotten. I've already used the beetle, I've used the sword, I've used the whip, I'm going to use the claw shots here. Well, you don't want to do that. But and then I'm also going to use the gust bellows, all just in this one room. So it's sort of like atypical amongst in Zelda games, like Ocarina of Time, like in Ganon's Castle. You sort of used at least a bulk of your items again, and it's been a trend in many Zelda games, even in Twilight Princess, but to a much lesser extent. You know, the end of the game is sort of like the end collection, so you're not actually collecting anything. I mean, it's like it's a collection of all the previous dungeons, in this case a lot of the previous enemies, and the previous level designs, all in one final dungeon. So it's kind of cool. It's a very enjoyable dungeon, kind of tricky actually. The first time it took me about, I want to say an hour and 45 minutes to beat this dungeon. Granted, you know, there's a lot of unique puzzles, and I'll explain them as I go further into the dungeon. In general, this room is fairly linear, fairly straightforward. As I mentioned, you're going to be using a number of the previous items that we've already gotten, but in general, other than the entrance room, the dungeon map room, this is probably one of the most straightforward, not difficult rooms in Skykeep. The second room here, or as I like to call it, the Lanayru mining facility room, as you can tell by the mining facility music, this one, like I said, it sort of takes attributes of the Lanayru mining facility, although it also takes some attributes from like Pirate Stronghold, in that you have a time shift orb that you're carrying about through the dungeon. There's a few barrels to the right, one of which contains some arrows, and we are going to be needing some arrows in this room, so it's a good idea to break that barrel if you don't have any arrows. One thing worth noting is there's 8 rooms in the dungeon, actually, in the dungeon as a whole. However, you can actually beat this dungeon without going to all 8 rooms. I believe there's a way you can beat it by going through just 7 of the rooms. Granted, I'm going to show all 8 of the rooms, and perhaps this is not even the most efficient route, but I think it's the most efficient route in the sense that of going through all 8 rooms and getting the Triforce in a quick period of time. But what's cool about Skykeep in general is that depending on how you move the blocks around, you can go to different rooms at different points. The only exception is that first room that we went to, the Skyview Temple room, that room has to be, or the second room technically, and then the third room is only one of 2 other rooms you can go to. But after that it opens up and you have a lot of options. But we'll get more to that once we get to the next sliding puzzle. In this room we want to place the orb on the moving platform, then walk over to the other side, and then we want to use the gust bellows on the sort of like magnetic platform thingy at the top. And this is very reminiscent of, well, the Linnaeus mining facility. In fact, this was pretty much a common theme within the Linnaeus mining facility, having to use the gust bellows to sort of move these platforms along. So, in a sense, like, this is almost like the greatest hits of Skyward Sword. It's just how it is in Zelda games. Always the last dungeon is always that it's like that familiarity, and that, you know, it's a lot of the same puzzles or slightly altered puzzles, but same idea of the puzzles. Anywho, I do have a few complaints about Skykeep in general. The most notable one is there are no new enemies. In fact, every single enemy that we face, I mean, thus far, what have we fought? We fought in the Skyview Temple room. There was a Phoenix, there was some Deku Baba, Quadro Baba, there was those Pyropes. You know, over here there was a Technoblin in the floor below, but you don't have to fight him. And over here we have some Beamos. And throughout the remainder of the dungeon, it's all enemies we've previously fought. It's kind of disappointing in that in the past, in some Zelda games, there's some brand new enemies just within the last dungeon. For example, this dates back all the way to the original Legend of Zelda. There was like the enemy Patra was an enemy in the final dungeon that wasn't in any part of the whole game. And then there was even variations of like the Lamolus and such. And then the Great Palace and Adventure of Link had all those new enemies at the end. And it's been a trend in a bulk of the Zelda games. Not all of them, but a bulk of them, where there's a whole bunch of new enemies, or at least a couple of them, in the final temple. And they're usually amongst the hardest enemies in the whole game. Anyway, the goal here is to hit the 5 targets with the arrows, just as I did, and you can sort of just move the time shift orb back and forth. I'm going to make a few notable changes here. I'm going to bring the block that's at the top, I brought it to the middle, and then I'm eventually going to bring it to the bottom. This will allow me to reach this new room, and after I shift a couple other blocks, I basically can reach 3 additional rooms. The one at the bottom, the one in the middle, and then the one on the left. In general, there's only 8 rooms in this entire dungeon, and this is the 3rd room I've been in. I mean, there was the map room, the Skyview Temple room, and now the Linnaeus mining facility room. And now I have access to 3 additional rooms. So we're gonna do some backtracking here. What's cool about this, once you reach the end of the room, there's basically a shortcut that opens up that allows you to reach the other entrance, pretty much. So you don't ever have to sort of just like retrack your way through the dungeon at all. Over here, there's some butterflies against the wall, and you can just pick up whatever you want. I have full hearts. I have my bottles are, you know, I have some goodies in there. I don't really need rupees. It's really up to you. I was gonna pick up some rupees, so I was trying to draw a rupee, but I really botched it completely here. And thus, if you fail, you only get 3 recovery hearts. So I guess that was kind of good. I showed what happens when you fail at the goddess wall. Anyway, I'm going to progress over to the next room here. As you can tell by the music that starts to kick in right away, this is the Earth Temple room. And this room's a little more elaborate than the previous two rooms, and there's a couple different puzzles and some like hidden routes we have to go through. Right off the bat, there's a gate straight ahead that sort of blocks your path. So you'll have to crawl through this little hole on the left. And there's a bomb over here you can pick up to fill up your bomb bag. But what you really want to do is take one of the bombs and roll it back into the hole. I sort of did a poor job there. But straight ahead, there's a boulder that is blocking your pathway from crawling all the way through. And our goal is to actually roll a bomb through the hole and actually break that boulder. You could also use the beetle and grab a bomb and sort of just guide it through the hole, although I found that to be a little more difficult. For whatever reason, the first time I played the game, I tried that method, not thinking I could just roll the bombs. I'm not sure why I didn't put that together right away. But anyway, once you roll over to this area, for one, there's a giant red choo-choo. You could just avoid it if you like, and what you really want to do is just crawl to the underground area. You want to hit the little red target, and this causes the gate to shift. Much like we saw in the fire sanctuary, the whole idea of burrowing underground with the magma mix. It's like, while this has the Earth Temple music, it's sort of like a hybrid of both the Earth Temple and the fire sanctuary. You know, that was sort of the same case with the Skyview Temple room, in that we had to use the whip. It had the Skyview Temple music, but it looked like the Ancient Cistern type place. Over here, and even in the Lanayru mining facility room, you know, it had the music of the Lanayru mining facility, but then it had a puzzle using the bow and arrow, which was a sand ship. So in general, like this is now the third themed based room in a sense, in that it sort of combines both of the dungeons in that various region. Anyway, there's a stone tablet here that basically gives you a hint as to what you need to do, and once you toss a bomb into this like bomb holder, it'll reveal a little like a diamond switch behind it, and the stone tablet basically says to strike the diamond switches from lowest to highest in terms of like altitude. We'll learn more about that in just a second. If you just read that stone tablet, it's a little confusing, but it becomes clear momentarily, at least once you discover the rest of the pieces of this room. What you want to do over here is roll the bomb. You have to roll it. Like you might be able to get it in if you toss it, but rolling it is much easier. And once you roll it, you want to roll it into the bomb holder, and it'll open up this passage. And there's another diamond switch. I went ahead and hit that diamond switch there, using the advice of the stone tablet, saying the lowest one is the first one. And I'll explain that in just a little bit as well. In the distance over here, there is some like trees that are blocking your pathway to the bomb flower. You can deliver a Skyward Strike and just do a horizontal slash to send out the beam blade, cutting down some of those bushes. And then you can send the beetle out, pick up the bomb, and sort of blow open basically the trees so that you have a clear path to pick up the bomb, send it over to this next set of trees, and blow those up. And then once again, you want to send the beetle out, pick up the bomb. This time you'll be able to get past both sets of trees, and you can drop a bomb into the bomb holder here. And once again, it will reveal a diamond switch. So there are 3 of these diamond switches in total. There's the one down there that I just hit on my way up here. You want to hit them from lowest to highest. So that's the lowest one. This one over here is, I guess, the medium one, in that it's, it's the middle between the two in terms of height. And then the highest one is the third one, the one in the distance over here that we needed the beetle to uncover. Once you hit them in those particular orders, the gate will open, and it'll allow us to reach the next room over here next to that stone tablet. Over here, all there is a soft soil spot, and it takes you back to the room below. There's two things we can do here. For one, you could break that boulder on the right if you'd like. All this really does is leads to a shortcut to the earlier basically hole. There's really not much purpose other than, yeah, it makes it for quicker access underground, but you're never really going to need to come back underground anyway. What you really want to do is hit the bottom to the side and then upwards to break the boulders over here. This will allow you to crawl through past the little pathway here, and you'll be able to reach the other side of that switch. In this case, it's the blue switch. This will move that gate backwards once again, back to its original positioning, but now we're at a different spot in the room. So you want to crawl back over to the hole that we came down from, and when you walk around the room, as you can see, the gate is now back on the right side, which previously prevented us from reaching this area, but now it'll allow us to reach this next area. You want to burrow underneath the ground here, and once you walk forward, this will trigger a battle of sorts. I wouldn't really call these guys mini bosses or anything, but just enemies that you have to defeat. And it's just these two Moldorms. I fought these in the Fire Sanctuary. Again, this sort of further states the point of how this dungeon is sort of, this level I should say, is sort of like a hybrid between the Earth Temple and the Fire Sanctuary. Basically what you want to do is crawl around the bottom and sort of just slash away at the big orange tail of theirs. This could be difficult. Some people have trouble with this. It's not as easy as you might think. Granted, you're not gonna like die at this boss battle or mini boss enemy, but it might just take some time and some annoyance. Some advice: you could allow the Moldorm to see you. It's probably your best bet, at least when it's in the third hit, when it's very small. Allow it to see you and sort of just run out of the way, and the Moldorm will come dashing towards you. At which point, if you just get out of the way, it'll basically ram right into a wall, and this will basically allow you, it'll become stunned for a period of time, and this will allow you to sort of sneak behind and hit its tail. It is still kind of difficult. It's not as simple. Like, I often find that I run out of my stamina right when I'm closing in on his tail. So you certainly can't just follow behind him. You have to use some more unique tactics than that. And in general, you want to stay on the left side of the screen, it seems, because if you go on the right side of the screen, it's more like longer pathways without being able to turn, so it's almost like a direct pathway. So your best bet is to basically stay on the left side or in the middle portion here. Trigger the Moldorm to go, and then just follow straight behind him. In that case, he was a little too far. There's no wall over here, so he won't actually ever go in the areas that are sort of out of your reach, in a sense. Like if he were to go straight down, that's a dead end, and he won't walk into a dead end. Anyway, this took a heck of a lot longer than I did it the first few times, but you'll eventually get it. It's not that hard. It's kind of fun, actually. But after 3 hits to each of the Moldorms, then those spikes will be removed, and you'll be able to progress further in the room. So, yeah, it took a lot longer than I thought, but afterwards, you want to crawl up through the hole over here. And once you resurface here, there's actually another one of those slide puzzle stations. If you basically slid the rooms already exactly as I have done, you don't actually even need to touch this particular slide puzzle, as the next 2 rooms are already accessible. Afterwards, just pull down this lever, or the bar, and this is pretty much going to do it for this video. You can just run on ahead to the next video. You can slash the pot here to get a fairy if you'd like, but join me for the next video and we'll progress further within Skykeep. See you guys then.